In the Romans reading we've just heard, we heard, owe nothing to each other except to love each other. Debt is one of the most important ideas in the Bible. It exists in the many teachings on money and land and is also reflected in the language of forgiveness. In the Bible, forgiveness is always the same language as that of cancelling a debt. And in ancient Israel, the idea of wiping the slate clean was a literal action. There were huge physical charts covering who owed what to who in this small agricultural economy. The debts people took out against each other could be pretty extreme. It could even end up with family members being sold into slavery to pay their debts. A system called Jubilee regularly took place, where the ruler would literally order the slates to be wiped clean. Land would go back to the previous owner. It would no longer belong to the person it was owed to, and people sold into slavery would return to their families. People who had grown rich couldn't accumulate the things that people owed them. No one was permanently impoverished to the extent of losing their home or their children. In our modern world, the idea of debt has moved a long way away from the idea of forgiveness. Nowadays, we borrow money from an anonymous bank. We don't know if the money we put into our savings accounts invests in oil wells or tanks. We'd never talk about forgiving the debts that our bank owes us. So how do we owe nothing to each other except love in this mechanised, institutionalised world? How do we love people whose names we do not know, but who are still affected by our actions in the world and resources that we share? A lot of our actions create costs for other people. When we buy things at ludicrously low prices, we impoverish the people who made them. When we use energy at increasing rates, we're generally okay. Our country is at one of those lukewarm temperatures where the temperature could go up a bit or go down a bit and nothing really terrible would happen. But the results of climate change from our energy use on other people are enormous. There are raging fires in the dry places, spreading deserts and rising floodwaters. People and animals are violently ripped from their way of life. People around the world are paying the bills for the way we live, and we owe them. As society, we're not doing very well at the command to owe nothing to each other except to love each other. Jesus did not come to dilute the words of the law and the prophets into a woolly principle of love. Jesus came to remind us that it is not enough to just avoid harming people. We must remember that we are a huge interconnected society, and we have to work to love people who we cannot see, whose names we don't know. Just like we create a debt when we hurt or harm someone, a towering debt of injustice, we're creating such a debt today. A debt to the rest of creation as we selfishly consume and spend and allow temperatures and sea levels to rise. Pope Francis writes, we only exist in relationships with God the Creator, with our brothers and sisters as members of a common family, and with all of God's creatures in our common home. I would add, our common home is burning right now. Even if we are relatively safe in the damp basement, we owe it to our common family to sort out the fire.